Hello and good afternoon. Hey there, Weedle. Just see you in there. Thanks for joining so early. Just waiting for people to join. Just going to get set up. So if we just give it 60 seconds, waiting for people to join. Welcome to Web3 Weekly. We're doing this. Give it 60 seconds. Waiting for people to join. Welcome to Web3 Weekly. We're doing these conversations every week in conversation with a super special guest. This week we actually have a really special guest. So if you take a quick look at my profile photo, you'll see a cute little doggo. Well, I think it's cute. I think it's super fun. It's a fantastic project based on Solana that we're going to be talking to today. It's going to be our special guest. So again, we're just waiting for people to join in. My name is Paul Point. Welcome to Web3 Weekly. If you're just joining us, do give us a emoji, just making sure that the audio is working on your end. Give us yourself a little reaction so I can see that you're present and everything's working correctly. Of course, what we're going to do is we're going to open the space for some of your questions surrounding Web3, some of your challenges, some of your stories. Some of you, if you're NFT collectors or creators, would love to hear some questions from you. So do request to speak. Thanks, Noel. Thanks, Shades. Can hear. Good to hear that you can hear me. As always a good start. But yeah, do request to speak, because what we're going to do is we're going to have an open session just to discuss, kind of, I don't know, the last couple of weeks. This year is still super early, but so much has happened. Going to be talking Web3, going to be talking NFTs, Web3 namespace. Of course, is something that I always cover at the start and end of these little chats. And also, we're going to be having our special guest, the team at Doggos. Fantastic. So many can join us today. So an absolute pleasure to have so many of you. So welcome. Yeah, as I said, feel free to give us a request and I can approve it. And then when we're ready to go and open the floor to some of you, we will definitely do that. So yes, obviously the purpose of this is just to build a community base and build the conversation. As I said, we're going to be doing these weekly every Sunday. My name is Paul Point. Do follow me if you want to. Would love to follow you back and hear where you're at with Web3, NFTs, cryptocurrencies. My personal journey started back in 2017. So I'll give you an idea, a window into where we were in 2017. Bitcoin is a scam in 2017. So big drive on turning people away from cryptocurrency and using decentralized assets on Web3. Not a lot of actual support in terms of the apps and the blockchain, sort of the browser extensions that we now have, like MetaMask. Some of you are probably already using MetaMask, so we're definitely going to be discussing that. I run a project now called Web3 Safety, which can be building steadily. So do give that a follow if you'd like to stay up with Web3 safety. So my journey, began in cryptocurrency 2017, buying Bitcoin at a Satoshi machine, which is essentially a super large ATM machine, printing printing assets into a QR code receipt. So if you can imagine that, you go into your local sort of delicatessen or local food shop, and they've got a Satoshi machine. No one knows how it works. They simply rent out the space. So you're feeling very, very isolated and alone back in 2017, super isolated. There's not much of a social media drive on that. And you're simply printing these receipts. You put your £10 or £20 or £50 or whatever you want of Bitcoin into a machine and out spits a receipt, if you can imagine that, onto a QR code. And it's essentially a paper wallet. We've come quite far since then. I'm very pleased to say Bitcoin is no longer a scam. Very pleased about that, and essentially is viewed as a store of value. So super exciting. On from there in 2017, of course, the price of Ethereum is somewhere. I hope many of you will be quite familiar with Ethereum, and of course, the underlying blockchain, the technology surrounding it, and how we can use it as a decentralized ledger for obviously business, personal, and kind of the Web3 identity namespace, and being able to empower us into this new echelon of internet activity, which is super, super exciting. And that's why we're all here to talk about that. So we've come a long way since 2017 in my journey personally. There's a whole bunch of staking assets and tools and DeFi. Of course, my journey kind of comes from that place, trying to really explore how to use assets outside of the banks, outside of private hands, and really trying to get back to the source of how finance can be the basis of exchange and empowering us to use that. So yeah, without kind of going too deep into that, I'm sure we'd love to have some of you up, definitely talking about some of your stories and journeys of cryptocurrency. That's kind of my starting point, so the last sort of 2 years had more space in my schedule, certainly, to kind of really entertain the upsurgence in DeFi summer, which what anecdotally, that's how we're kind of thinking about the space and how it's emerged. DeFi summer was a big part of my sort of journey in 2020, staking assets like Polkadot, Band Protocol, also Neo as well. That's something that I've been staking for a while. Still actually stake a little bit of that. But yeah, really trying to get under the hood and work with some of these, these platforms that are giving us charge and custody of our funds. Thanks for the request. Just going to be requesting those in a second, so do keep that request. Keep your hands up, and we'll get you on in a second. Shades, thanks so much for that. But we're going to be kind of running through, and I've just jotting some notes. It's been quite a busy day for me here. I want to talk about the Web3 namespace, which is something that I'm super focused on. So if you kind of go over to my profile, you can see I've got a .eth address. Let's see how many of you got a .eth address. I can see Serene's got a .eth there. I can see someone's got .sol, which is always good to see. I'm going to be talking about Solana. I can see what else can I see? Yeah, Heather's got a .sol. Wonderful. And yeah, so I mean, awesome. So basically, what we're talking about by Web3, namespace and ID, it essentially gives us charge of our wallet and gives us the ability to customize the address of our funds, of our kind of login, and really sort of gives us the chance to work with our kind of personal identity, which sets us apart from millions and millions of other users, and it's something that can be worked into an NFT. So I'm just going to skim over this really. So I'm using one of my main ones is obviously .eth, which I find super useful. And I'm kind of just going to skim through these, and if you find it super useful, I'd love to hear what you think about the Web3 namespace. But these are some of the ones that I'm using, so I'm just going to give a quick, not financial advice, but I'm going to give you a couple recommendations and links where you can find out some of the ones that I am using in Web3. So I'm using, of course, ENS, which is useful for Ethereum, but not just Ethereum. You can use that for a whole bunch of other assets. So it's primarily on Ethereum, but the misconception is that it's only exclusively for Ethereum, which is not the case. Tons of value there. Of course, it's usable with a wallet called MetaMask and a few others, but MetaMask is the one that I am using. You can find out ENS on ens.domains. In terms of price, we're looking at $5 per year. So that's what you pay per year, but the gas, which is like the transaction fee, is actually sometimes pretty steep. So, that's going to be the one that's most useful, but potentially the oldest one actually as well, that started off this bull run into Web3 namespace. And the gas today, I just checked, was $280. So if you've got $300 ready to go, you can get your name set up, provided it is available. The next one that I'm using is Tezos Domains. So that is on Tez, which is Tezos, a great platform, great place to kind of like really get started if you have less liquidity. You can find that on Tezos.domains. The entry price to get a domain is $1 Tezo, or $5. That is a great place to kind of get working and buying and selling NFTs on the Tezos infrastructure and ecosystem, and does not support Ethereum. So that's a good thing to point out. The next one that probably relates to our kind of guest speaker we've got up later is the Doggos Team, which is their project is based on Solana. You can get your Solana name or .sol. So imagine my name, Pauls.sol. You could get that on the Bonfida name service. And that gives you the .sol, of course. The address for that is naming.bonfida.org. Now the price is a little bit different on here, so you'll be using roughly $20, but you would need to convert it or send it in via Solana to your wallet. And I use a wallet called Phantom Wallet. So I'll just jot that down there. So I'm just kind of putting everything together. But you have to convert it to a stable coin called USDC. I think I'm using USDC, and then you can go ahead and use your Phantom Wallet, connect your Phantom Wallet to Bonfida, and do it that way. Sorry if I didn't mention, back on Tezos, I'm using the Kukai wallet. Using the Kukai wallet, I'll have one Tezos and connect it to Tezos domains, and pay your one Tezo fee there. Again, I'm skimming through, but I'm super keen to deliver value to all of you. I'm gonna got 2 or 3 more I want to note out. BTC, which is that gives you the .btc address, which is obviously Bitcoin, but gives you access to the growing ecosystem of Stacks. Now, this is super up and coming, and I really have a lot of faith in the team, the Stacks team, and what they're building and what they're creating there. Essentially giving us, the community, access to the bridging smart contracts, bringing all of this amazing, interoperable, kind of programmable value, which is some of the stuff that's being coded into the root reason for being of Ethereum, and giving us that kind of leverage over it, that kind of ability to to work with it, and to work to give us access to the enormous value of Bitcoin. So Stacks is the team, or block Stacks as it would have originally been called, gives us access to Bitcoin's value. So you can get a .btc at the website, which is btc.us. In terms of price, you can get one for about $5 actually, so it's quite cheap, and that will cost you. You need to convert it to 2 stacks, which is STX. In terms of a wallet, so that is, I believe that's set up inside Hero Wallet. So that's HIRO. So you'd have to get your Hero Wallet set up and built in as a browser extension. And then once you've got that browser extension wallet, then you can connect it to btc.us. But you can actually only have one domain per wallet. So useful thing to note. Again, I'm skimming through here, but I'm keen to deliver value. So ADA domains is one that's super up and coming. Some of you in the chat will definitely be familiar with Cardano. Super interesting project. I'm really keen on it. However, it doesn't have the kind of market cap of Ethereum and the exciting, ecosystem of Ethereum. And I reckon that it will be a couple of years, maybe by the end of this year, we'll definitely see more of a kind of drive towards like big projects being launched on the sort of NFT space of Cardano. But yeah, so you can pick up an ADA domains address. So the website is ADA domains.io. Now I believe that they've done a pre-sale, and then so it's going to be so it's parked for a moment. I use a wallet, just double checking because I've got all these tabs open. My wallet is, so back on to, I'm going to have to get back to you on that, but I'm pretty sure I'll be able to find that by the end of this call if everyone's really interested. So I've got a separate wallet set up for my Cardano, and then connected it to ADA domains. My price entry for my ADA domains, so like Paul.ADA, ADA, was actually somewhere in the region of 25 ADA, I believe, which is $40. So again, you're going to have the token into the wallet and then connect it to ADA domains. But I think we're waiting for them to finish their pre-sale and come back around. So super exciting if you are interested in getting involved in the beginnings of a really exciting ecosystem for Cardano. Now again, the 6th one here is TNS. So some of you might be familiar with Terra. It's one I'm kind of working with recently actually, but it has been around for a little while. They did an airdrop. So the team that's doing the domain names for Terra, you can find their address on tns.money. So that's tns.money. Again, Terra name service. So if you are interested in exploring the stablecoin, which is UST, which is said to be kind of one of the most steadfast, decentralized stablecoins, which is going to be super useful because, of course, you can then peg your value to the dollar. But it is working with the Terra Luna, the Luna coin, which is made by the Terra team. So again, so if you want to connect your wallet, so again, because I've just got loads of tabs open, I use Terra Station Wallet. That's the wallet that I use. Again, not kind of totally advising that you run out and get that, but that's one I'm finding loads of joy with. So Terra Station Wallet. In terms of price, I actually got one per So I got my address set up for 18 US dollars, but you'd have to have that in the stable coin, which is 18 UST. Now, the final one I wanted to really run through, I realize that's quite a lot of information, but I feel like that's super useful, and that's what I do. And I feel like, I'd love to share that with you and kind of, get a little backwards and forwards and seeing your experiences with these Web3 handles and what they can do for us. Right, so name tag is the final one I wanted to note out before we get some people up and talking and backwards and forwards going on. Name tag is something I'm using and exploring. So the website for that is nametag.org. So name tag is essentially kind of something that gives you more overview and gives you kind of more of a kind of social connectivity. So it's not essentially giving you access to have a BTC or .eth address, but what it does do is it gives you your name as a Web3 identity. So what it does for me, when I connect the browser extension, which is name tag, it actually changes really excitingly. So imagine my Twitter handle was, actually at PointPaul. So if you have a name tag, and imagine everyone on Twitter has a name tag built in the blockchain, the browser extension app connected. I'm using Google Chrome. If you have that installed, what it does is it recognizes your Twitter handle and actually swaps it, changes it to a different color, like a luminous green for me, and then it changes it to whatever name that you have bought as your Web3 identity using name tag. So it's pretty interesting there. So it kind of gives you another layer to your identity and gives you the ability to swap out your Twitter kind of address, and kind of tries to embed your Web3 identity across other apps. So again, I'm kind of just getting into the usage of it. I managed to pick blank name tag up for about 0.1 Ethereum, but I think now they're going for 0.18, so a little bit of a price jump. So they're 600 US dollars roughly, and you've got to have a little bit of gas ready as well for that transaction fee. I think today transaction fees are roughly, it's definitely on ENS, they're 280 US dollars for transactions for this kind of thing. But obviously just do your own research and kind of keep some gas handy, some extra money for transactions handy if you're interested in that. Now, just the final thing to say is that this is based on, I got mine on the OpenSea platform, and that kind of gives you access to the name tag portal, and with that it's essentially primarily going to get those blank name tags or any kind of name tag set up using Ethereum. And the main reason that I kind of really dived into this is because it's building a directory of people that own these assets. So essentially, when you go to registered names on name tag, you can essentially find a whole bunch of users who are using the directory, and then it kind of gives you a list of all of the tokens or verified collections on OpenSea next to your wallet name. So going back to Twitter, let's just say it gives you the ability to list your NFT collection based on Ethereum. So the NFTs that you bought using the Ethereum blockchain, and it gives you a subset of NFTs listed on your Twitter. So you can essentially be the verified owner of that NFT, and that appears up on your Twitter. So you can kind of have those bragging rights to those super valuable NFTs that you want to show off. And of course, it also then gives you the chance to have your Twitter kind of profile photo verified with a green circle as well. So these are elements that I definitely feel is worth exploring. Name tag is evolving all the time, but I think the one keen thing about this is that you can actually find your own tribe. So let's just say you've got Deadfellas or Cool Cats or various things like that that do have a really vibrant community and definitely growing fast. You can essentially find other people that have got those NFTs and connect with them. As I said, this can be quite a lonely experience, kind of working through this space, but we're here to build communities and here to connect with so many of you. So thank you so much for so many of you joining so far. I can see requests. I'm going to start approving you guys and find out where you're at with your journey. The first person to request was Shades. We're going to get you up. Shades, how are you doing? So let's go back to let's see Shades. I don't know if Shades is still with us, but I definitely approved him. No worries. What we're going to do is we're going to move on to the next request, which is Noel, who is working with another separate project that I found out very recently. But rather than me explain, let's get him up. Noel, I think you're approved. Are you still with us? Noel, how are you doing? Maybe if he's there, he can unmute and talk to. Oh, yeah.
Hey, can you hear me now, Paul?
Hey, no, I can indeed. Yes. How are you doing, my
Awesome.
friend? You well?
Oh, I'm doing great, and I really do appreciate you putting this on and bringing us all together. That is absolute fire that you just shared about kind of like the overview of the decentralized namespace. So, well done, first and foremost. But yeah, thanks for having me up here, Paul. I am
You're welcome.
so passionate about Handshake, and I love language and words. And since domains were the original digital real estate, Handshake names made perfect sense to me,
Right.
and it's just so cool just to see all the other decentralized naming projects out there. And
For
the
sure.
decentralized web is kind of, what I've been focused on for the past 5 years, since 2017, like yourself. And before that,
Hmm.
I was really attracted to decentralized tech from a philosophical perspective and how it can bring us all freedom online. But yeah, just a little bit about Handshake. Whereas like all those other naming systems are like built on smart contracts through like general purpose blockchains like Solana and Ethereum and Cardano, the list goes on. Handshake is a little bit different. It's a blockchain, a proof of work blockchain that's narrowly focused on naming and decentralizing the DNS root zone of the web to replace this centralized entity called ICANN, who is currently the gatekeeper of traditional domains. So no one else is really doing this like in the decentralized web space. And so it's my belief that we're always going to have a centralized web, if we don't incorporate Handshake, because there can't really be a Web3 without decentralizing our current web that we have now. So yeah, that's why one of the many reasons why I'm so passionate about Handshake.
No, that's fantastic. Yeah, I love hearing about the Handshake project as well. I mean, for me, the minute I saw Ethereum, I thought to myself, "Hang on a second." So, kind of backtracking slightly, the way that wallets are set up, it's not particularly human friendly, and of course, it does put a lot of people off. And there is this then leads us into the security nightmare, which is, am I paying or sending my $1,000 or whatever to the correct wallet? And so basically, it leads people into this kind of quite, sort of nightmare scenario where, they don't know if the wallet that they're sending funds to or from is, they're setting things up in the right way. So it leads us into the sort of meme culture. Am I doing this right? So, I find a lot of people, kind of are really put off by this space because essentially they're being asked to use infrastructure, which is really directed at the root layer of some sort of developer tech. So, in a similar way, how is a website set up? So, you'd have a website and it's coded to a server, and you'd essentially have, your computer would have an IP address, and then the website would have a server address. But rather than have all these zeros and ones, which is of course crazy, like who would be there typing in a website, which is essentially just zeros and ones and numbers and things, you would actually have, as you rightly point out, the DNS. Which has prompted this, the conversation of ENS and other things that I mentioned called TNS, which is based on Terra. So, how do we kind of build upon DNS, which is really great, really solid, gives us access to these domains as long as we pay the rental fees, which is what we do. So we pay the rental fees every year. But essentially, it doesn't give us ownership. So that's one of the core problems of DNS. And ICANN, correct me if I'm wrong, you might know a lot about DNS more than I do, but every time that I buy a domain, let's just say, pay a rental for a domain every year, £10. I'm in the UK, so I use pounds. So it's an extra struggle for me because I'm having to convert pounds to US dollars, to Ethereum or stablecoin and this. So, but once you do all of that, this problem of being able to, kind of really get under the hood. I'm losing what I'm saying, but I think the point I'm really driving at here is ICANN has this stronghold over the namespace currently, and they charge somewhere in the region of 13 or something p every time a domain is registered. Like, they essentially do nothing, but they will be, kind of raking in funds left and right and not really delivering much to the end user. So it's just a fixed fee that they have. And it's great that they're there, and it's great that they've been able to, kind of help grow this namespace, specifically in Web 2. But now with Web 3, we have the ability to own the addresses because they are minted as NFTs. Specifically, Unstoppable does this. If anyone's interested in Unstoppable, I'm leaning more towards the Ethereum name service side, which is of course giving you the chance to own the NFT and put it in your wallet, and gives you core access to the fundamentals of the back end of the contracts, and you can customize it, add your Twitter, add your website address, and really gives you a look under the hood. So yeah, I mean, how do you feel about kind of where the ENS team is going and the Handshake team is going? Is there comparables there?
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities, and like with .eth and everything, like what you can do with these kind of names are really cool, right? Like you
Yeah.
can have it as a wallet name, like you just said, or be able to have decentralized login, or have it as your username, and that's really gonna be able to bring in like ownership on the internet, which is something I'm really passionate about, where you can be able to have true freedom of speech, you own your data, and it all starts with your name. And so all that's really
Mm.
important. Handshake does that too, but I would agree with you that .eth is further along with developing that. But what I'm talking about too, though, is what's under the hood, is what you just said with like DNS and ICANN. And what I really want to see is like to have an OpenSea or all these other platforms where it's totally decentralized. Right now, they're
Mm.
still at the mercy of certificate authorities and that organization called ICANN, right? Because they own OpenSea.io domain. So they're still centralized on the front end, and that's really what I want to get down to, is decentralize not only the back end, like with DeFi and all these other
Mm.
tech stacks and everything. I want to focus on doing that with the front end, and so with .eth domain, like it's really great for the user, right? But then at the same time, you can't really build platforms or websites with it, like the platforms that being in depth as what we need them to be. But Handshake, you can actually have a website that we're accustomed to, and so that's really what I'm drawn to at the end of the day. But at the same time, I do think that there's going to be multiple decentralized naming systems, just as there's going to be multiple blockchains. We're already seeing it.
Yeah.
You had
Yeah.
said earlier, as humans, we're very tribal. Look
Yeah.
look at Twitter right now. Look at us, in the space right now. You look at politics. There's so many examples of humans signaling what tribe we're a part of. And so in the decentralized web, .eth, means that you're with the Ethereum tribe, .sol with a Solana tribe, and with
Is it?
Handshake, you can create your own tribe. And that's what I'm doing with .tx personally. But just
Mhm.
ask yourself, in the audience, like for your in real life friends and family, are they going to identify as .sol or .eth? Maybe some of them will, right? But do you want to know what they will identify as? Their last
Mm.
name, their community, their favorite sports team. And Handshake enables you to own just about anything as a top level domain, like .com or .eth. So, like Paul, you can be, .PointPaul. You can literally own your own name as a top level domain, and to me, that's powerful.
Yeah, no, it's super, super exciting. I think a couple of things that really stand out to me there is essentially the tribal part to it. Like, of course, these blockchains as they currently stand are not fully interoperable, so we're going to have some, how should I say, iron walling or stone walling surrounding these communities. So you've got like people who are essentially Ethereum maximalists, or Solana maximalists, or Bitcoin maximalists, and they'll want to advertise the fact that they have a .sol or .bitcoin to the detriment of others. Now that can be super positive, provided that things are not kind of built out to the detriment of others. I'm super, super keen to see how some of these kind of chains work together. That's why my kind of entry point into NFTs last year was really kind of getting the namespace kind of sorted. As soon as Ethereum came out, it was really clear to me that we would need a naming system so that we wouldn't get lost in a series of 0x1s and stuff, and so that we would actually be able to kind of get our, a human-friendly feel for this technology and then start to take ownership of it. So it's important that we don't get lost, but of course the tribalism, that enables us to really kind of see ourselves transposed upon that identity is super interesting as well. So yeah, thanks for coming up, Noel. We're going to kind of quickly have Shades up as well, because I see you requested earlier. So let's just approve you if not already. So hang on a second. Let's go into that. I'm going to approve a few of you, and then we'll come to our guest speaker for today. Shades, how are you doing?
Hey, hello, good evening. Sorry, I guess I've been rugged a few times. The Twitter lately is not so reliable. Yeah, so big shout out to you, Pauls, for giving us overview of what is happening. I find it's so hard to keep up with the space. I can't keep up with the Ethereum space even. Like there's so much happening overall. So it's exciting stuff. Besides those networks you mentioned, I also kind of excited about the flow. I don't know if you heard about it, the Dapper Lab product that they built.
No, what's that?
Sorry?
What is that? Excited about what?
Flow. The Dapper Lab, the creator of CryptoKitties, and now this NBA Top Shot. Yeah, so they released their own blockchain. So I tried it on, and it's dedicated to NFTs. So I'm as a nerd really got excited about it and the technology and they built. But still on Ethereum, like big Ethereum fan. Also felt similar that I joined in 2017. Not through Bitcoin, but exactly through Ethereum and ICO craze that was happening back then. Burned on fuel, but learned so much. And now I'm.
So you're using OnFlow right now, is it? Is it available for us to start playing with, or?
No, just to mention as interesting technology besides the ADAs, Solana, and so for anybody who is interested in some new stuff, I highly recommend to dig into it. There's a lot going on, but I'm still on Ethereum working on own project. I'm really excited about NFT overall because for me it's once in a while in a lifetime that both artists and nerds as me can work on some mutual projects. Because my wife she's an artist. She's been doing for 8 years professionally, and finally finally we can both full time work on something big and exciting, and finally her artwork can be exposed and shared with the community. So really thankful for all NFT movement. And this is my short story.
No, that's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, it's great to be able to share the benefits of being able to work in this brand new way. And I suppose, if we're commenting on 2020, we can't help but comment on the pandemic as well. And this is essentially, a really strong catalyst for enabling us prompting us to work in new ways, and also, kind of delivering, the impetus which really helps us to see beyond what it means to work in an office and 9 to 5 and have regular hours. And I think even today, I don't know how many of you are in different time zones, or I'm essentially in GMT right here, which cuts me out of some of the conversations happening in California or in Far East Asia, and definitely Australia. I've got some friends in Australia who are artists, and I think let's just use them as an example. So one of the guys I know, he's an artist, and it's really changed his how should I say, routine. And we're going through these adjustments where essentially Australia, one clear example is that the way of life has changed quite a lot, to say the least. But he's had this really strong backbone of being an artist, and he's been able to onboard so many people into the Web3 space and deliver them, potentially some, really fantastic art that people want to join in with some of this celebratory of the growth of some of this space, and of course, the value of an artist being able to give back to a community. So it really does provide a lot of opportunities, and so I'm really, really excited to see where we're going to be ending up, definitely by the end of this year, because it's still so early on. So yeah, just without further ado, we're here to rebase the room. My name is Paul Point, this is Web3 Weekly. One thing to say is we definitely want to grow this conversation, and we're here every Sunday 5 p.m. Onwards, and we always have a special guest, but please help us grow this space. We've had some fantastic speakers already who do fantastic things, so do follow them if you want to, but our special guest is just going to come up in a second. But before we do that, please do take a second to shout out the room and share it across to anyone directly in a direct message, or just share it into your feed, and you can do that by hitting the blue button in the bottom right if you have the space chat open, and just help some more people join the chat, and I'd love if you could do that. So yeah, if you're still with us, do give us some emojis and some do give us some reactions. Without further ado, we are going to have up the team from Doggos, and I am super stoked that they are here. So they're already speakers. I can see that they've already been accepted. So
hello.
Welcome. Hi, is that Jake?
Yeah.
Weedle? Hey, how's it going? Hey,
Paul.
Heather. How's it going with you both?
It's going great. I loved hearing the conversation this morning. I actually just bought my Tezos name handle, so that was great. So thank you for the reminder on that. The flow was super great. Just built right in, and it even gives me a web page too, which I thought was great. So just so exciting. I'm building my little collection of all my names, and I love name tag. Definitely gonna check them out. Just followed them, so very cool.
Love it. Yeah, I think for me, it's just great to be able to hear, or to be able to put out the idea that, we can really take charge of the space, and, maybe some of these NFTs that we buy as names, maybe they'll be with us for life. So there's a thought.
I'm really interested in what Noel was speaking about. Personally, as a developer setting up websites, I've kind of been annoyed with ICANN for a very long time. And I would love the new TLDs, right? Like top level domains.
Yeah.
But right now, so many of them are gated. A bunch of ones I want aren't there.
Yeah.
But I think there's so much opportunity in that space. I mean, Doggos, our website, is a .dog domain, right? So he was saying, how do we use these extensions to organize our groups, right? And that's one very clear way that we did it with the .dog domain. But there's 1,000 different opportunities out there, and I'm really excited to see where the space goes too. Because when I first heard about .eth, .sol, I actually wanted to configure a website to redirect there, right? And so I found out that I think Unstoppable Domains is working on this, but as of now, Google Chrome and maybe Brave will, but won't redirect you, right, if you do try to configure a website to it. So they don't work like regular TLDs. So I don't know if anybody had any more knowledge on that or what's going on in that space.
Yeah, I mean, the kind of the one thing that I really wanted to say, and I obviously good to get your thoughts on this, is when I'm using ENS, just making sure the audio is clean there. Okay, that's just something coming up from you. No worries. So the one thing I wanted to say, and definitely for some of the people out there, is if you're using ENS, they have a standing collaboration with .xyz, which is, my understanding is that is a top-level domain set into the Web2 infrastructure or ICANN, and it comes up in regular browsers like Google Chrome and all the rest of them. So if you have an ENS, so for mine, let's just use mine as an example. So you could essentially, and I'll try and do it for you now, if you type in PAULS eth.xyz, it should just come up with a profile which is configured and based off of my sort of my NFT set. And you can see, profile, you can see it's configured to a website, you can see the whole list of NFTs there, you can see an actual Ethereum address. So I'm being super upfront about that, but some people like that, some people don't like that. So it does have a profile built in, and I think others are trying to do that. Definitely what Heather mentioned there. I think Tezos has a similarity. But how exciting that potentially we have the option, to bring these spaces together, and really, really keen to see how some of them will become interoperable. And I think that's just going to be inevitable.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see where it goes. I mean, me and Heather talk about all the time that NFTs, in some fundamental way, are just buckets of data, right? And as a developer, somebody who plays around in code, I want the ability to configure kind of my profile, my presence in, I guess, what we're going to call the metaverse in any way, shape, or form I want. So I think the idea of decentralizing and then just giving more power to people to create is just going to be a big step forward.
No, 100%. Yeah, I think there's a couple of sort of really strong ideas, ENS being one of them. Certainly, want to kind of see more from the guys at NameTag. There's other sets as well. There's one actual sort of profile, sort of how they exactly build themselves is not clear to me. But I think the project is called YAT. So if you type in y.at, you can have a string of emojis. That's something that people really like, apparently. So, definitely for people in the TikTok community, they're really vibing with that. So you can have essentially a string of up to 5 emojis, and that would you could use that as a sort of a profile for all of your works, or kind of a set of links. But I think for me that you would have to buy the address of emojis, so you'd own that emoji string. But it works in a similar way as Linktree, so there's arguments for and against, I guess.
Offline, we should get together. You could just tell me how much I need to buy all of them, and then maybe we could do some videos of you walking me through, because I don't have any of them yet.
Okay.
And so I'd love to get your expertise and just like maybe document.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely. With the likes of someone like Noel, who's in the chat still, and Brantley from ENS, who's a keen figure there. But then, the teams involved at Namespace, and yeah, I'd be interested to see how, what they're, working forward collaboratively, which is, where I think most of our heads are set. I think we can really kind of benefit from that synergy. And yeah, let's do it. If we want to have like a sort of a minting session or a name buying session, then let's do that. Let's set that in motion.
Yeah, let's definitely do that. Can we also call up to the stage Millie Carter? He's our brand new community manager for Doggos, and he'll help us get that done.
Okay, sorted. Let's do it. I'll definitely when he requests, I'll definitely approve him if he's not requested already. So Melly, yeah, do request to come up, and we'll have you on. But let's just focus on you guys for now, because the reason that I'm so excited to have you here is I'm a holder myself. So full disclosure, I have one little doggo. You can see that in my profile there. And you guys are based on Solana, so you are not working in the space of Ethereum. So that gives you some, sort of advantages there. I'd be keen to hear your thoughts about working in the Solana space. For me, I'm not super kind of, I don't have lots and lots of visibility in the Solana space, but just for the benefit of the audience, I believe. When did you guys mint, by the way? When did you guys start this project live for the public?
December 3rd is when our 5th, Weedle? Am I lying? We had a bit of an issue with our game, so we had to push it a day. So it was just right in December. But yeah, it's been about a little over a month since we've minted, sold out immediately. We thought that the site broke. We were like stressed. We were like, oh no, something bad happened. But then when we realized, wait, it's actually a good thing. It was just a lot of emotions and a lot of good feelings. We're just so happy that it was received. When we were launching, Doggos was meant to be kind of like our first step into the space. Like, we want to make sure we like learning as we're doing, and what better way to learn than just to like, let's make a quick, small, collection. I feel really confident being able to draw in that style. So it's like, let's just bang them out. Let's go. And so the response from the community and everyone else has just been so awesome, and really gives us a lot of confidence to keep building in the space. And Weedle, do you want to add anything?
Yeah. So minting, December 5th kind of means we were into the doodles before they were cool, because it was mid-November when I guess they were always cool, right? So being a person who had only owned NFTs on Solana, I had tried on Ethereum a couple times and then just had no luck. I was unable to get in on the doodles. And there's a funny story about that. But anyways, I was always kind of on the outside looking in. And so in mid-November, we had this idea to bring Doodle Doggos to life so that every doodle can have their little doggo companion. And now it's so crazy to see how much the doodles themselves have blown up.
Yeah, this is wild. Yeah, I mean, obviously, you guys minting on December 5th, which is, it's quite close to Christmas. So, you're competing with people's shopping budgets for Christmas spending and stuff. So, and then, ultimately, you're doing it on a platform which is, essentially, this is only my personal take, but, for me, Solana was an unexplored territory. So, do you want to talk a little bit about the decision to go to Solana over other ones? Of course, there is Tezos, there is Hicketnunk and Object. Tell me a little bit about your overall kind of awareness about the Solana sort of community there.
Yeah, I can speak to that. So my first mint was actually Mike Mitchell's The Visitors Project. He's a really well-known artist, before NFT times, which I bought some of his prints and just huge fan of his. And I saw that he was finally getting into NFTs, and I was like, okay, well, I guess, I'll do it. I'll for you, Mike, I'll learn how to do a wallet. I'll feel like I'm hacking my computer. We'll figure it out. I was kind of on the outside of crypto for a while. Like I bought some Bitcoin when it was up really high, and then I felt like a dum-dum. And like my college roommate was like, mining stuff. And I was like, should I be doing that? So definitely always aware of the space, but and so anyway, fast forward. Mike Mitchell he was very passionate about the environmental impact. So his mint was actually with Polygon. And so my first experience was with Polygon. But then when I learned about all the gas fees and everything, it really turned me off. And then one of my buddies, he's more than a buddy. He's like one of my mentors. His brother is a VC guy, and he would just go on and on and on about Solana. And so I was like, okay, sure, I'll put some in my portfolio, just as like for investment purposes. And then when I found out that it's like, oh wait, there's NFTs here, and then I found the Solsteads, which the artwork immediately called to me as someone who also really enjoys, vector stuff. And I've never seen, real estate, and I've seen all the other like really popular ones, and all these crazy headlines like 16-year-old person makes, $1 million on some pictures of, their feet or something. So could be like literally anything. And so, I got really involved with the Solstice community. I started doing fan art and some like art contests and the Famous Foxes, and just like really getting involved with the community. And like, it was such a small, approachable space that I felt welcomed right away. And so for me, it was always very like, these are my people. It's like, I love the Solana. I love how tiny it feels. I think for me, how there's no gas fees. It's Phantom is amazing. It's just like, it's really just such a young space, and I do love Solana. Even though I will say I am like a multi-chain maxi. I'm like, heck, we're gonna have ones all the time, and maybe in a few years there'll be a better one than Solana. And like I don't want to be stuck with anything. I'd rather just do whatever's best and most flexible for everybody. So like in a world like me and Weedle were always talking about like, is there a way we could do cross chain? It's like, could we just do all of them? Like I totally agree with you, Noel, about like you have your tribes, but part of me is like, we're just talking about like, boxes that hold data. It's like, that's all that an NFT is. Why do we have to put so much stress on it? But it's really just the the tech that's there, the products that are there, that are built on it. And so I think over time, and this was a long ramble, but Weedle, do you want to add anything?
Good point. Weedle.
Yeah, so before we decided to launch on Solana, I think I did about 2 months-ish of research trying to figure out where the best place was going to be, right? Where the next up-and-coming place for NFTs was going to be, because it became clear to me that Ethereum Layer 1 isn't going to be the best solution in the long term, right? Like, I had read Vitalik's post on it, and Vitalik was saying that he would hope NFT traffic would move to Arbitrum. And so I actually reached out to the Arbitrum team and to, Immutable X, and to try to figure out like where they were at, in, let's call it September, October-ish, as far as NFTs go. And I couldn't get a response. It didn't really seem like the L2s were really focused on NFTs themselves. And maybe that's because it still has such a stigma. I remember doing some market research before we launched NFTs, and most people, I think, see the NFT world negatively, right? People outside of this space still associate it with, either hurting the environment or just general nonsense. So it seemed like those Arbitrum and Immutable X, at least at the time, weren't particularly friendly to this sort of grassroots NFT movement that I saw happening on Solana. And so ultimately, that's why we are on Solana. And then since, as a developer, I've come to learn all sorts of amazing things about the tech side of Solana that has just kind of like cemented the fact that, yes, this is a place where we want to be. But again, as Heather said, like, I am a multi-chain guy. I don't, I want everybody to win, and I just want to be flexible.
Definitely. Yeah, no, this is great. I mean, like, just kind of to recap a little bit and to rebase the room. So this is Web3 Weekly. My name is Paul Point. Special guest today, we do have the Doggos team. So we're talking NFTs, cryptocurrency, Solana, and the future of Web3 and how we can all play a massive role in this emerging technology. And of course, the landscape is not set. So, where do we go from here? So just to kind of come back to the roots and the origins of Doggos. So again, bit of full disclosure, like I have a doodle. I have a doodle NFT. I've got one doodle NFT. And I think I bought that early December, which is super weird because I wasn't aware of the Doggos team until probably mid-December, I want to say. So a couple of weeks into December. And it was actually a friend of mine who shared this with me and said, oh, hey, check it out. Now, of course, one burning question I have is why arrive at a Doodles inspired project? I think that's the first thing I wanted to kind of get across. I think there's been a lot of discussion about derivative projects and the value of them, and the sort of communities, pro and con of the derivative style artworks. But then, of course, why dogs? So yeah, do you want to speak to that, Weedle?
Yeah, I'm sure Heather has tons of ideas too, but one of the reasons why dogs is, if you look in the Doodles collection, there's cats and there's not dogs.
Yeah, that's true.
What's there for dog people? The other thing is, I guess for Doodles, even before like all this crazy hype and price range, like I personally admired the art. Like, I had shared Doodles before it minted with a bunch of friends and said like, hey, like, this is a great project, like, you should definitely check it out. And so in my mind, when I think of Doggos, is his like a real homage, right? I think Heather did an amazing job with the artwork. There's like 80-ish one-of-one pieces. There's a doggo that looks like a Christmas tree. There's a doggo that looks like a Ninja Turtle. There's all these crazy one-of-one pieces that have so much personality that it really wasn't it was a really thought through art set, right? It's a small set, only 500 dogs. And so what I wanted it to be personally is like an homage to Doodles, and something where, maybe the Doodles would say like, oh, we need a doggo, right? But I think the derivatives, because of the low quality that it's coming out, is really getting like a bad rap or bad name, whereas it could be a way to expand and promote the community. It's not that right now. But I guess before I go on, I'd love to hear Heather's thoughts.
Go for it.
Yeah, thank you, Jake. I was sharing in an AMA in our space, in our Discord yesterday, that like literally in my sketchbook, it only said 30 doggos originally, like we weren't planning on making a lot, because it was supposed to be just like a learning thing. Like I know that the doodles are deceptively simple looking, right? But like everybody, like if you're an artist and you work in vector, that like mastering that, like where the line is and like the line weights, there's so many little details. So I'm like, I can do that. I have experience with that. And so I felt like, yeah, let's just do it. I think the doodles are gonna be great. That artist behind the doodles, I feel like I followed him on Dribble like 100 years ago. So he's very popular and very just forever talented. And so yeah, and so I just started making them, and it just was really fun, and so we just made a lot of them. But I am very torn as a creative person, artist. I went to art school. Like, I don't want to be famous for a derivative. It's like we're actually using a lot of the funds from Doggos to fund a bigger project that I was too chicken to start with. And so, but I think this is actually, we're learning a ton in the space and like growing our community, because the next project is kind of ambitious. And so, but it is all my original art and my original ideas and everything else. And I do think, like, and just to continue my ramble, like, with the Bored Apes, right? Like, they don't own monkeys, but we see 10,000 monkey projects, like I love the doodles. And I think that while all the doggos do take a lot of things from the doodles, like the sunglasses and the color palette, like I did draw a lot of unique things, so it's like, do they own a pastel color palette? Do they own, these things? And I do feel bad for the doodles and all these derivatives. Like, they want to work, they keep approaching us to partner. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And even the amount of people that were in my DMs right after Doggos launched, wanting me to create art in that style was overwhelming. Yeah, I was like, no, like, why would I like, if I wanted to do another animal, I could just do it myself. Like, why would I have you pay me? Like, and so I kind of knew that those were coming, even people were like, don't be mad when my project comes out, and I was like, okay, good luck, have fun.
Wow. Okay. No, that definitely, that's really interesting to hear. Like, honestly, and hats off to you as well, because of course, I can certainly, kind of comment a little bit on the, artistic side of, the doodles being the deceptively simple, but of course, something that really, it's something about the deceptively simple nature of it that really holds it together as a set. Now, the doodle that I was lucky enough to be able to buy as an NFT, like it's what you might call a super clean, like, floor dude. It's just like a really basic, kind of little face. And I think that's kind of what I wanted. It's like, sometimes you can see, like, for me, it's the NFT sort of journey hasn't really led me to a point where I can think to myself, okay, maybe I want to use one of these NFTs as my actual, like, sort of business front-facing avatar. So, I'm kind of like, always looking and, trying to play Snap with things, or, creating fun pairs. But the doodles was actually one thing that really stood out. And, I didn't buy it based on the idea that it might go up in value. I actually bought it because I thought to myself, well, this is something that I kind of want to be associated with. And, I can see the simplistic nature of it being and having this ability to transpose an identity on. But of course, you can turn it into 3D or, motion, or, create different artworks layered on top of the said style. Now, for me, the one I have in my profile is a kind of little sort of, it's an adaptive derivative of the doggos. So the one I'm using is like a sort of, I forget what he calls it, but there's a guy called Simply Ed who creates derivatives of doodles. And I was lucky enough for him to actually create a derivative of my dog. So he's like kind of created these shades and, you know, kind of create a little bit of 3D element to it. So kind of tell us where you're at with the Doggos sort of now. I know that you're on Magic Eden, and you know I've kind of definitely been on your website, and you know of course it's all completely sold out. The 500 sort of entities are all gone. I can see right now there's only 28 listed, which is insane. The floor price has gone up so much. I don't want to deliberate too much on that. You know, again, I bought my doodle because I wanted it to be my front-facing business avatar, and when I saw Doggos, I was totally in love with it. So I could see that it might match my doodle, and so for me, it was like just an obvious kind of matrimony of those two sort of NFTs together. So they sit quite nice together. So yeah, I mean, where are we at with the doodles? With the Doggos project? Like, what's on the horizon? I know that I've been airdropped some treats. Is that something you want to comment on right now?
First, let me just say that you are like a dream community member. A, thank you for having us on the space, and B, like when we started Doggos, the hope was when Doodles was a community that hadn't blown up yet, that Doodles would see the Doggos and be like, oh, like maybe we can get a doggo for a doodle. And the fact that you did means that maybe we did accomplish that mission in some small way.
You definitely did.
I also wanted to comment real quickly before I get into treats on the artwork by Simply Ed. He calls it a dark mode doggo.
That's it, yeah.
I paid him to create one for myself. I know there's another member of the Doggos who has a dark mode doggo. One of the things that we're looking forward to ramping up here in the next few weeks is something we call like the Artist Incentive Program. Okay. So what it is we really do put a lot of value on the community, and especially seeing all the artwork that's blown up for the doodles, right? All the people making 3D videos and such, their own little fan arts. Because NFTs themselves are, buckets of data, we can actually attach multiple assets to the NFT. And so we'd actually already talked to Simply Ed about adding his artwork to the NFT itself so that it could follow along with the traded doggo. And, as a reward for that, obviously we expect artists to get paid for the work that they create, but we would also cut them into the royalties for all future trades on that doggo. And that's something that nobody else is doing. And there are a couple of good reasons not to do it, but we think it's something that could be really exciting for the space, especially if that became a norm or a standard.
That's really kind of driving into the heart of what makes it exciting to buy and sell these NFT projects, because as I said, for me, my one was quite plain. Potentially, someone might even call it on the boring side, but that's I was happy to receive that if someone was going to serve me that. And I think what I'm saying is I was really keen on playing Snap with some of the NFTs, and I was so like blown away that I was able to do it with one of the main purchases that I ended up getting into for last year, which was insane for me. I think I must have bought a doodle around 3 ETH, so that was totally insane doing that. And it's just something that I wanted to put my value into and be kind of joined with on the long term. So kind of it seems like you're heading in the direction of trying to kind of partner up with some other really talented on the rise artists, and it sounds like Heather, maybe you kind of started doing art contests and working, potentially creating derivative based artwork, and then sort of arrived at creating this full set, which definitely stands alone, by the way. And I know that people will say one project's inspired by another, and these things are built on other things, and there's this kind of hierarchy that seems to be emerging, which is fine. But I think what you're actually doing with the project, you're trying to invite some of these artists in, is the true innovation. And so, how does that work, and what's been the reception so far? I'm just building a little list of some of the people that have built derivative NFTs of some of the ones I've got. So, what's been the reception so far? What's been said?
I think, or Vito, do you want to, or I can go?
No, you go ahead.
Okay. I do. So when we started seeing that this like fan art of doggos come in, like a few people like Mofb, who did the 3D doggo that we auctioned off last month, which I like. Oh my gosh! I'm still glowing about that, and just like I've never had anyone make fan art of my art before, and as someone like you said, Paul, who was like actively participating in the community with my art or creative whatever's like I just loved that, and I was like, wow, how can we like that would be so cool if you because like the Loot project, right, which is just like metadata, right, and same the doggos technically are also just metadata, like mine is a Solana gradient, fluffy dog. It's like so technically if you gave that prompt to any artist, like I would love to see what does a Solana gradient fluffy dog look like, and then amend that too, so make like a bundle of artwork attached to this thing. But the problem is, and this is like a whole NFT wide issue of like, how does NFT art get displayed on these marketplaces on your wallet? Like, are we gonna have Square NFTs forever?
Yeah.
Is this Instagram, years ago? Like, what the heck? And or like even the support for video files, like sometimes it takes forever to load, like, or like if I wanted to have multiple images in a thing, like I was saying earlier, like NFTs are just a box that holds data, so like how can we be more flexible? And so while the Artist Initiative program is something we're really passionate about, we've kind of put it on the side for now as we build up our website, because right now there's not a good way to see all the art that is attached to one NFT, right? Like, how would you even do that today? So we would need to build the thing on our website so you could go see the dog and see the gallery of art that is attached to that dog, right? And another piece of doing that is to like make the owner feel more connected to their dog, right? Like I would hope that, or I would think that if you put a lot of money into your dog and attached a lot of artwork to it, or like let's say your dog was an homage to your actual dog, you could put a picture of your real dog with that one, so people who looked at it could say, oh my god, this is this is this dog. And we're also thinking about like name tags and like all these things. But yeah, the big update for the website is kind of our main goal right now, but we do want to push that some more going forward. But that's where it is right now. I hope that answered your question. And Weedle, I don't know if you have anything else to add.
Yeah, just about, we talk about community in this space, and I really believe that all of these fan arts, right, or like, like Simply Ed's, dark mode doodles and dark mode doggos, right, that adds so much value, right? And one of the philosophies of Web3 is just how do people capture more of the value they create, right? So we talk about like Instagram being a classic Web2 company where content creators put up their amazing content, their photos, etc., but all the revenue drives to Facebook, right? Drives to Instagram.
Right.
So how do we break that open to where the NFT isn't just me and Heather's special thing, but to where it could be a more community art project over time, right? And then we provide the seeds, right? So almost like a DAO in that way, right? Where somebody would set up a DAO and then kind of like work with the community or turn it over to the community to run. And I think that's just healthier in the long term, right? Because we haven't seen what NFTs look like in 5 years, right? Like where are all these projects in 5 years, right? Where are these projects when, the creator gets sick and can't continue it? So I just think adding a communal aspect to the artwork is a really interesting idea moving forward.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, it's. I think I was just going to list out as well, just for pure fun. Like I kind of had the doggo that I have. I think Simply Ed. I sent him money for his dark mode dog, and then other people have simply kind of come my way or like reached out to me personally, or simply said I'll maybe list your kind of your number of your dog or whatever, and I'll do a derivative of it. But I think this has really come out of the growth of a project that's, you know, really on trajectory to going somewhere, and lots of other artists, you know, rather than, you know, potentially going down the route, because I see a lot of projects launching on OpenSea specifically through the summer of 2021, and there's a lot of you know, projects that, you know, I think there's an impetus to start a project but not having a real amount of kind of foresight to how to kind of really nudge it forward week by week, month by month. And, you know, essentially the appetite for people who buy these NFTs is crazy. Like, let's go to that. Like, what's been the appetite? Like how would you say how would you characterize the community of doggers? Are they super demanding? Have you found one or two people that are super really, you know, kind of, when's the next thing? When, you know, when new, or you know, or are people happy to say ride with you? I'm holding my doggo for the next 10 years, like, because it literally looks like my dog. Do you have a mix? What's it like?
Well, I think we have the greatest community in the NFT space. And I say that as somebody who's not biased at all.
Yeah.
But no, like, our community really isn't interested in flipping doggos. I mean, even you just look at the floor, like the number of listed doggos, right? And, you know, we were blessed that just a couple people came in yesterday and decided they wanted to buy doggos. But what that meant was the floor price for a doggo, which we don't really talk about, you know, doubled. But it's just because, you know, our community members are so passionate, and they're willing to ride with me and Heather and the team that we're growing with, Millie and Sam Clairvoyant. You know, we're into this space for the long term. You know, we're trying to build something. Doggos is just V1 of what we're trying to build, and so we're really so excited to bring that vision to fruition. And we've let all the doggos know, like, you guys are the VIPs into everything that we want to build in this space. And because of that, I feel like we have real ride or die doggos.
Yeah. I also want to add a few things. Like, as Jake said, I totally agree with everything he said. One thing that touched me really, the community in doggos, they really value the doggos they own. They pick from the marketplace, depending on their dogs, or, you know, maybe their parent dogs that they had to part their ways. It is reminding them their past, their history, those loving moments. So really, I haven't seen any kind of like flipping tendencies in this community. It's more like owning and holding for good. Like Jake said, that's why our volume shows, our listed item number shows. People are just loving and getting attached which doggos they're picking. And mostly there's a story behind why they picked that dog. For a while, I was thinking maybe I should have some kind of like event where I ask every member why they picked their dogs, and they can tell a story. And then we can hear and we can collect these and share with the community, with others, because I really value the reason people are buying these doggos and keeping them for a long time.
That's cool. That's great. Melly, just for the purposes of the audience there, kind of lovely to have you in, and fantastic doggo with the sunglasses as well. So I totally missed out on that one for sure. But Melly, what is your specific role at Doggos, just to kind of like bring you in a little bit more?
Oh, of course. Thank you for asking. So basically, my title is community manager. I'm in charge of mostly getting partnerships and running our social media, coming up with plans, and you know, bringing up some collabs to benefit our holders in the community, as well as organizing you know, Discord events. We just had our first game night over weekend. We played together a multiplayer game. These kind of things, like, I'm trying to add more value, more fun to our Discord to keep our community entertained, to keep them like coming back to have good time, because we have, you know, less than 1,000 members, around 700. We are a very tight community, and I believe we should be spending more time together. We should be having more fun together. So what I'm trying to do is give more reasons our community to be active on Discord, spend more time together, give them more whitelists, I don't know, OGs from communities that are popular, to reward them, and make connections with other projects to work together. Like, basically, I'm trying to bring our community to another level, get our community stronger, and just spread the word that doggos are doing best, and they're the best community out there.
Nice.
He's also getting us prepared as we move into the next stages of what we want to do, right? So Heather mentioned it earlier, but we have a much bigger, ambitious project with many more. It's a much larger collection. So as we move towards that, we need to be organized. Well, actually, it's funny you say that, Paul. The thing that I think we don't talk about enough is because all the doggo holders are the VIPs and everything we do. Every doggo is going to get a free NFT from our upcoming collection. And I, again, very biased, but I'm so excited. And I think once you guys start to see what we're working on, I think the hype will be there.
No, this is solid. Yeah. No, it's. I just want to come back to Melly just for a second, and then we'll go back to yourself, Weedle, and Heather. Melly, so like solid that you're here, and congratulations on being the community manager as well. When did that kick off? When did you? Because I think I spoke to you last week. You didn't say anything about
that. Yeah. So basically, I applied to the open position a few weeks ago, and Jake and Heather have been like going over the candidates because we had tons of candidates. It's a position that everyone would love to take. After they have a look at the project, owners, community. So I was pretty psyched when I saw the opening. So yeah, we have been through a few interviews, and I was just waiting for the decision. And last week, actually, it wasn't revealed yet. It hadn't been revealed yet, so I didn't have an idea to share with you. So in the last week on Wednesday evening, I received the exciting news from Jake. And the same night I started working on the project, and next day I just delivered him some, presentation, the ideas I want to do, the first day tasks, everything, because I've been waiting for this kind of role for a long time. I have been getting prepared, and once I was given the green light, I was like, yeah, okay, it's time to go. There is no time to lose.
That's amazing. It's good that it was only confirmed on Wednesday. Otherwise, I could accuse you of cutting me out of the loop and keeping me out in the cold, which would be terrible. But no, congratulations on becoming the community manager at Doggos. That's awesome, Melly, and definitely speaks to your skill set and says a lot about you. So, and again, mad props and hats off to 700 members in a Discord. That's an absolute win. Love all of that. I'm a user of Discord, but of course, aware of some of the challenges in managing a community on Discord and some of the security issues. There's obviously pros and cons to Discord. So obviously, first question is, are there things that are happening off Discord as well as on Discord? I know, of course, the main channels for community engagement is Twitter and Discord, but keen to hear about your thoughts about off Discord sort of engagement for people in the chat who want to do so. And maybe you can fill us in on what's been said behind the curtain. What's your dream scenario for the community 6 months after mint? So that would be what, May? Can you give us an idea of that? If you're still there, Melly?
Yeah, I'm here. So basically, it is a still super new project. It's been a tiny bit over a month, and our community is full of veterans, like people from the first day before the mint who joined. They're still here. They know each other so well. So the goal is here, keeping the quality, keeping the sincerity of this community while we are growing. The first goal is to grow our community into a much larger space, because we have upcoming projects. Obviously, we would like to have more people waiting for what is coming, and once it happens, we want the hype to be really big. And so we are trying to slowly grow, but it is very important not to bring anything, not to change anything, because the guys manage to keep an amazing space here. So it's very important to grow very carefully. But in the 6 months' time, I think my goal is to have really good partnerships that we manage to build with very important communities, and
Okay,
we have
dream partnership. What's your dream
sorry?
partnership? What's the dream partnership for you?
Well, at
Go
the
on.
moment, it is kind of happening. Like I always wanted to have a partnership with Doodles.
Okay.
That was my goal from the first time I saw this project, and I'm so happy that it's kind of like slowly happening. So I
Okay.
would love to put it into more official terms, you know.
Okay.
So that is one thing I really want to do, and
Right.
you know, it is cross-platform, of course. So it's ETH and Sol coming together.
Yeah.
So there are some really quality projects like Famous Fox, which I know that we already have good relationships. So I want to get even stronger relationship with the Fox family.
Love the Foxes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I just want to have these like quality projects to come together and do really like fun things together as a collab community, rather than this is your project, this is my project, let's do one thing and then go separate ways. No, like we are together in this, and then we benefit from this relationship that we have together.
This is perfect. Yeah, I mean it's a super kind of ambitious to have that kind of a connection with a project which is just off on its own, like distinct territory now. And I think back in December and November that wasn't clear, and there was lots of people who are talking about Doodles in a light that was less than positive, and that's fine. There's always a space for people to express their views, and I think that's what's super important about this being a full community of artists. But really excited to see how Doggos, which now seems to have its own standalone identity, kind of really taking shape and having the original people from Mint still hanging around in Discord. This is like the perfect dream scenario. So yeah, I mean, coming back to the core art, so if we can draw you back in, Heather, for a second, and then we can go to Jake about those treats, which is that part of the technical side of the future longevity of the project, which I don't yet understand. So would love to hear more about that from you, Weedle. So yeah, Heather, coming back to the art side and talking about the creation of the art. I'd love to hear more about your process as an artist, and what inspires you, and kind of really kind of where you see the artistic lead, I would say. Like where would you want to go next with the future of kind of visual or the creativity side of this project, which you're kind of quite clearly at the helm of?
Oh, thank you, Paul. That's so sweet. I mean, one side thing I will say is that, at the beginning of the project, I kind of led art and design. I designed the website, and Weedle did all the code work, and kind of like just also my brain collaboration partner.
Yeah.
But then, like, one of the things we did highly underestimate was the need for the community, and we wanted to make sure that we found somebody that could stand as another pillar of those things. Like if I got art and design, Weedle's got engineering, and then finding Millie was just amazing, and his dedication and enthusiasm and excitement like really stood out to us in all the candidates we talked to. And so I'm so happy and excited, and I feel like all the success we've seen in the past like 24 hours, I'm like,
right,
because of Millie. It's like we finally have all the pieces. Because I was talking to another larger project, and they were like from a big company, like, but they were saying like, oh yeah, well, you got to have your community manager before you even launch, So I was like, oh snap, we didn't have that because we didn't even realize. Yeah. But that's why, you learn as you go. But from the art side, and back to your question, so my day job is I'm a product designer at Netflix. I've worked in tech for the past 10 years. I do a little of everything from visual design to branding to wireframing to game, like usually working on smaller teams, wearing a lot of different hats. But I went to art school, and I've always been creative in my free time. Usually I try to balance it with like, real world crafts like ceramics or like fiber or like just like whatever I can get my hands on, like literally just like creative ADD. I got to collect all the scout badges for all the creative things. And so this is actually like the first time in my entire life that I've had so much fun on the internet being creative and just like drawing stuff, and just like the just the reactions from people when I'm working with them or doing a collab or doing like an art swap or doing all these things has just been so amazing and so rewarding. Like will tell you, like I have as every artist, you know, a creative person, imposter syndrome, confidence, whatever. But like I could never call myself an artist before this stuff. I'm like, no, like there's so many more talented people. I just like to have fun and just make stuff. And so it always comes from a place of me just having fun, and explore. I love the tech side. I love learning new skills and new programs and things. And so like, Illustrator, I taught myself Illustrator in like freshman year of college or something, like, high school. And so it just always been like in my back pocket. But just like even being able to like work alongside and like talk to some of my heroes like Justin and Rogi from the Grimm Syndicate were like heroes of mine even before all the NFT stuff. Like, and so to be able to like actually have a conversation with them about what they're doing and like work with them and do a collab with them has just been like just crazy. And it's like I've never felt so like creatively welcomed by a space before, like even in college, and so it's getting really hard to to stay at my day job and it's like I feel it creeping, but that's like the goal would be to hopefully be able to do this full time one day, but just making sure that everything's in place and it's sustainable, and it's like hopefully with the larger project we can do that. But yeah, we're just like having fun and exploring and just like making stuff. So I'm designing the website update. So I do design like, UI, UX too on the side. But so just kind of doing a little bit of everything. But yeah, I won't put anything out there that's not good or I'll have a fit about it. But it's yeah, there's so much stuff to do and there's so many people to talk to, and it's just such a fun, amazing place.
No, I can fully imagine. Yeah, I mean, obviously, it is kind of within still the realms of launch territory. Especially when you get a new product out there or you take something to market. Obviously, if we compare NFTs to the real world for just a second, it's just so new. So you're obviously getting like the feedback from what you're doing is right, and rightly so. Installing Melly, who's obviously clearly very talented, to kind of get that feedback and truly kind of to keep the overall atmosphere of the launch vibe there, but kind of coming back to NFT as a standalone marketplace, and of course it kind of seems to be its own beast. So it's fantastic to hear that you're in a good positive space and you're having fun with it, and you're exploring it. One final question I had for you, Heather, is you seem to lead I just went to your profile just a second. You seem to lead with product designer, tech lady, and artist is buried down at the bottom. I would like to hear about that. Product designer first, artist second. Is that right?
Well, that's like the artist part actually kind of new, because in the NFT space, I feel like there's so many people that have never really seen digital art before. And I've worked with artists. A lot of my friends are artists, and so I feel like there's not enough vocabulary. So like anybody who does visuals or illustrations or anything digital art is an artist, and it's like that's what they do. And so it's very freeing for me actually to have that term be so like not thrown around, but it's like, yeah, we're all making art and we're artists and we're like doing it. And it's just because it's going to art school and all these things, and like it's just such a heavy word to me, or like or it used to be, but now it's just so much fun. And I think too, being like, I started off as a visual designer in my career, and like if anyone works in tech, like the visual designers are they're like, you're always kind of like, okay, how can I design the stack fully, like end to end, make sure the experience is so good, but sometimes you get bogged down with focusing on the visuals instead of focusing on like, like how does this thing actually work? What are our like goals with this thing? And so that's always been kind of a place for me. Like for me, the word like product design is a bloated term, it's like, it kind of means you can do everything, and so just like making sure that when I'm doxed, it's like, this is who I am, this is my day job, it's like, this is, you want to find me, like you can go on LinkedIn and find Heather Mendonça, product designer at Netflix, and see what I've worked on and see where I was before. But yeah, I think like tech lady, I added that because a lot of people were assuming I was a man, and I was like, how do I say I'm a girl? Besides calling myself Heather. And then food eater, because I love food, of course, and artist and explorer because the past year and a half, I've actually been a digital nomad traveling around the country, like, you know, from everywhere from Joshua Tree to Mexico to Austin to Brooklyn, and Weedle's been coming with me. And so, like, you know, just totally living that decentralized lifestyle, you know, just totally remote forever. The Pandora's box has been opened. No one will ever go back to the office again. You can't make me go. And so, so I'm just so excited about, you know, and I even see the path. This is a whole other rant too of like, okay, now that none of the tech workers are in one place, everyone's online. Soon, maybe I could totally see like, you know, decentralize that workflow, you know, of like where there's bounties and things. Cause like just the work that I've been getting in my DMs and like on the side, I was like, if I do enough of this, it probably could equal out the same thing. I mean, that's like, and I have that control. Like even being a freelance designer has always felt like far away. I'm like, I'm not going to put myself on Fiverr. You know, it's like, I'm not going to like, I have to social media hustle to get work. You know, it just seemed like, how do you do this? But this seems very in reach and just like gives me a lot of hope and optimism for the whole future of tech and art and designers. And just like we touched on this earlier, which is a whole other side thing of like, you know, I've reached out to other artists and they are literally allergic to the words NFT, and they're like, we can't talk anymore. And it's like, it's crazy. And I'm like, you guys don't even know what you're talking about. It's like, I'm like, what? Like, it's so sad and so heartbreaking. And it's just a marketing thing. And I even saw like an Instagram story that was like, carbon neutral, whatever, with the footprint things. They're a scam. You have to make money the hard way. You know, it's like suffer for your art. And I'm like, why are you guys like this? It's like, who hurt you? You know, it's like here's boxes that hold data like that you can benefit from. Like, what? So that's that's a long answer. But
no, that's perfect. I love it. I love every second of it, and it's just I can really hear that, you know, you're in that space of, you know, you've moved through this, as I feel potentially maybe some of the people in the chat may have. I can kind of relate to some of this, like going to creative background, going to university. You know, the atmosphere at university wasn't necessarily how shall I say, you know, really excited about, you know, exploring some of this experimental sort of digital nomad lifestyle and celebrating each other. It was more of a die hard kind of die hard or die hider sort of like, you know, suffer for your art mentality and like, you know, stay up all night and do it again, and, you know, and then, you know, kind of take as much negative feedback from the lecturers as possible in order to endure. And so now, like, moving from that into a space where, you know, you can set, you know, almost your own sort of schedule and your own terms, and, you know, you can create where you want to create, and, you know, we're not, you know, working within the parameters of what someone says is positive, and, you know, and all of that kind of stuff. So, you know, we can really start to flesh out this NFT space and work out, you know, where we want to go next. You know, work out where the most exciting places to explore are. So yeah, just if I'm kind of you know, summarizing and, you know, kind of like, you know, trying to work out, you know, where to kind of to tail out from you and come back to Weedle, who's waiting to come back on, no doubt. Just wanted to ask that, where are you based? Sort of now, where's your kind of like, you know, sort of your main base, and what's your sort of schedule day to day or week to week rather, considering, you know, the success of Doggos?
What I think. Oh, sorry.
Weedle, you can go, Weedle. You talk about it.
Well, I think it's a really exciting question. So we're together right now in an Airbnb in Boston.
Love it.
And actually we have our other developer who just became full-time on Monday, you know, quit his job. His last day was the Friday before, so literally 8 days ago. He's flying out to Boston next week to be with us.
So we should all go to Boston, is what you're saying right now.
Yeah, if you want to hang out with the Doggos, come to Boston. We'll have a beer.
Okay.
But yeah, so we have the craziest hours, and Heather could tell you more about like her experience last night. Right. But like, you know, I'm taking like 2 and 3 hour like naps like waking up in the middle of the day, I am on Discord or Twitter or something related to doggos and NFTs pretty much 100% of my life.
Wow.
Other than the time I'm like, hey, I should go for a walk. I should get out of the house.
Yeah.
Or like, I miss the sun.
Drink
Other
water.
than those few times, it's doggos for life.
I'm going to get that on a shirt. Can we get that on a shirt?
Hell yeah, we got merch coming.
Oh, have we? All right.
My family is originally from Boston, and I went to college in Boston. And so, like, kind of sometimes we take stops in Boston. I have a lot of family here, so like we're gonna try to get a little bit of an apartment for a few months here, just to like park the van, because this kind of schedule. I already work California hours on the East Coast, and I happen to be a night owl, and so with all this stuff and like, collaborating with folks around the world, like you, Paul, and like we have other folks in Australia, and like Millie's in Turkey, which I love the globalness. Like I'm like, yes, this is how the internet is supposed to be, and so it's like, yeah, decentralized life, even in how and when we sleep. But it's I will say I like burnout is real, and like it's very. How do we balance that? And like, that's a question for me for sure. But I think also being in Boston, because it's like Antarctica, it's a little easier to stay inside and just like, well, it gets dark at freaking 4:30. So it's like, you're kind of, it's very weird. But I wanted Weedle to experience the magic of Boston spring and summer of like, you have the hardship and then you see the little flower come out of the ground and then it's beautiful.
Yeah. Good. It's good.
So like Heather mentioned, I am in Turkey, and for me, being in touch with Heather and Jake has been really tricky because we have almost the opposite time zones. So basically, what we're doing is I sync with Jake around 7 p.m. to like 2 or 3 a.m. and then I go to sleep, and I wake up around 8 and 9 a.m. and then he's still up coding. So we talk a little bit more, and he goes to sleep around 10, 11 a.m. for me. And during the day, I do my work, and then again, this like cycle keeps going again and again. And just like the team, I'm trying to survive it like 4 or 5 hours, so I could catch up with them. But it's been just nothing but fun. Seriously, all this work, I'm just loving doing everything.
Wow, that's awesome. I was just going to ask, make sure if you got a rowing machine or a treadmill next to your computer, making sure that you're fully warmed up, and because I spend a lot of time in front of the computer, and that's my one concern. Burnout is real. So I live close to a park, so on the health side, of course, it's how do you juggle that dynamic? Do you manage to kind of fit that in, or is that just kind of at the moment you're just racing towards a deadline? How does it work?
I've struggled with that my entire life, being a creative indoor kid. Like I'm like, donate my legs to science. But I think part of like, settling down for a few months is like the routine is so important. And like me, I love a good exercise class. And like, I know Jake was very passionate about living in the city. So you'd like walk to go get your groceries, it's like, and just like, you don't need a car. So you have to use your, these two big, like, tubes coming out of our butts, like the legs. so it's important, but also like standing desks are cool. That's I've always struggled with, like I said, but we and Millie.
So standing desks are in Boston and Turkey, yeah? Is that right? Am I out of the loop in London?
You can have a little bit of everything.
Good, it's good. Heather, I wanted to come to round out just kind of the lovely segment with you, because I definitely want to come to Jake a bit more intimately before we fully close. Heather, it's been fantastic to hear about the creative side and kind of getting into the sort of, what leads you into a project like this, where you've come from, and, potentially where you're going to go next, which I'm sure is changing week to week. So playing my ear close to the ground on that. But what is, if you could give one, key piece of advice, we're learning every day at the moment, but, your keen eye for working at places like Netflix, what would you say to NFT artists or creators who are getting involved right now and want to start their own creation like Doggos, maybe on Solana? What would you say your one piece of advice to those people? What would you say?
I think like it's so, all my experience at Netflix has really just told me how to like communicate effectively, with people, and like be like, yeah, we're having a conversation, and like how to be respectable and how to be genuine. And Netflix is already a global company, so I'm used to talking with people from around the world, and just like at different times, and just being like thoughtful about those things. And I think that that is a base of the success, because like even just like jumping into a Discord, like asking questions, making friends, like saying like, hey, your stuff is amazing. Like just a shout out, like the Amoeba friends, like their video, I see they're in here, like they had their launch video was freaking amazing, and I sent it to Weedle like immediately, because I was like, go talk to them. And so just like when you see something that's awesome and you love it, like there's so easy to find the like-minded people here. And it's like the 1,000 true fans is like one of my favorite things. It was just like this philosophy of like, you only need 1,000 people to pay you $100 a month, and then you're good. And you can definitely find 1,000 people that love you so much, because the world is very big. So it's just about finding those people. And I think the NFT space makes that really possible. But it's just like being open and being friendly. Like I was talking to somebody, and I was like, it's very easy to not be rugged by a project. You just need to, like, the founders are real people that you've seen around, and they're making an effort to talk to people. Like, and I'm very, like, I'm so, my bar is so high for projects that I mint, and I'm like, no, I don't know about that one. I don't know these people. But like, I was in the space months before Doggos, and that, I think that helped a lot. And just like talking to people, like I want to share the bigger project Mischief as soon as possible, but I just so that like people can feel like part of it and feel like that they're, giving information back. But just right now, the main focus is trying to get Doggos in a good place, get all those pieces set up. But it's like, the community is here, and it's such a huge piece. Like, I think all these really big companies are really going to struggle with that part of it, the community, the realness, the genuineness. It's like, these are like I have a younger sister, and she loves like YouTubers, right? And like TikTok influencers. And like, this is just another just kind of style of that, but like more techie and more artsy, which is like so cool. And I feel like I've been waiting for this like my whole life, in a weird way. But it's so fun. That's, I guess, what I would say. Just be yourself and share often, ask questions. Like, even I followed an artist the other day, and they DM'd me right away, being like, hey, like, I saw your stuff, super cool, tell me about your project. And I was like, oh my God, wow, I should really be doing that. And I'm pretty new to social media myself. Like, I didn't use Twitter before, I didn't use Discord before all this. But just like going in with that open, friendly mindset is like, everything is huge. Like, even the fun guys are here. I see them down there. Anthony, he's a school teacher, and he is, and sorry to just like dox you like that. But he's
Definitely love that.
Sweetheart, and it's really trying to work in the space and just like make friends, and like the hustle is there, and he's so passionate, and like that's the stuff. Like, if I see a real person, I'm gonna lift you up as high as I possibly can. Like Andy from like the Positivity Pond, like we've hung out in real life. Like, she's amazing. She's a real person. Behind it, it's like you just need to talk to people, and they're there, and they want to support each other. It's just a fun, great space. So that's what I would say. It's not even about the art, really. It's about like just talking to people and making friends. And like, of course, good art does help, but everyone's at their different place, and they have their own style, and there's fans for you out there.
Definitely. Bullish on human beings. Like, I think, there's a lot to be said for the technical side and creating the quality of the art, but, at the end of the day, if people aren't having fun, if they're not being listened to, hint, hint, wink, wink, OpenSea, if they're not listening to us, if these big platforms, want to go off and do the things that they want to do, it's great that Meta's here, it's great that Pepsi's here, Budweiser, there's a list of people who are collaborating with our projects, Adidas, to name a few, but, who is having the most amount of fun? And if it's not the most amount of people, I feel like there will be a cataclysmic shift towards things like, projects like the Doggos, which is possibly a great segue to get back to yourself, Weedle. I'd love to hear more about the technical side of bringing this to life and how you found that as a process. through birth to now? Obviously, like we don't have to go through 9 yards, but I'd love to hear your kind of where you're at emotionally, and and how you feel about the future to come, and would like to talk about those Doggos treats, which is I hear is your next little project on from the main mint.
Yeah. Well, I know we've had quite a long tour of Spaces, so I'll try to keep myself a little bit brief. But building on Solana, coding on Solana, not easy, folks.
Wow.
It's a little easier now than it was a few months ago.
Okay.
But Solana really only blew up, in the middle towards the end of last year, right? And obviously, it still hasn't blown up as big as ETH, but the documentation for all the things you want to do is not very good. So props out there to anybody building on Solana and like building real interesting things. I think part of the reason we see some, a lack of interesting utility in the space is just because there is definitely a learning curve with the development. But that's actually one thing Rust and Solana programmers like pride themselves on, is that like they're there early, right? They're the ones who are getting in before like the mainstream adoption, right? If there were good documentation with everything, like you wouldn't have as much opportunity. So all that to be said is Solana development's kind of a pain in the butt, but I've enjoyed learning about it. And even like with staking and treats, what we're calling the doggo daycare, you send your doggo to daycare and he comes back with some treats. That is more of an involved process than I originally would have guessed.
Right.
And the documentation around that, it's not as good. So while I'd hoped to have it out a few days ago, I think we're going to have it out in the next few days, 2, 3, 4 days would be my guess. So to talk more about treats, I don't know if you all have seen the icon that Heather has made. It is beautiful, a beautiful little treat icon. It's actually one of only 5 GIF icons in the entirety of Solana tokens. And I actually reached out to one of the main developers for there's like a repo that hosts all the data for all the tokens. And by default, they didn't allow GIFs.
Right.
And so I actually reached out to them, and I believe they're going to change it. So by default, they do allow GIFs. So we kind of helped the whole space in that little way. But yeah, the idea is that you have doggos, right? And that you could stake them, right? Staking has become a pretty popular mechanism. It's something that a lot of people asked for. We've only been around for a month, but a lot of people have asked for it. So we, as you know, the Doggo ate our roadmap. And so we're very much in tune with our community and getting feedback from them. And we think this is going to be a mechanism not only to do awesome things like one-of-one auctions for doggos that Heather has done. So, for instance, she's got a doggo based on the Baroku dragons. She's got some Chimpions doggos. She's got all sorts of doggos in mind. We also eventually would like that you could pay some number of treats and get some amazing merch, even if it's something as simple as some stickers or a t-shirt or a hat.
Nice.
We do plan on tying that all in. But I think the more important thing for Doggos owners to know about treats is that we're going to make sure they're interoperable with everything that we do. So as we've mentioned a couple times, we have Project Mischief, which is the code name for the big ambitious project we're putting out. And we'll make sure that treats are interoperable with that project. Whether that means like there's like a direct, you could purchase things for that project directly with treats, or trade it for that project's token at like some standard rate. We're really committed to the doggos to make them the VIPs and everything we do, and we're committed to the treats to make them, more and more valuable over time. And we've come up with all sorts of ways to do that. One project that I know you're a fan of, Paul, that we're fans of, is the famous Fox Federation. And they have all sorts of really interesting utility that they get to spend their token Foxy on. And while it's very tempting to just kind of like copy paste all their features. We definitely do not want to do that, but we definitely want to come up with new and interesting utility as well, that you could spend treat on. So we plan for their, honestly, there's not going to be a ton to do other than to save it and potentially trade it to win some auctions later this month. But within the next 60, 90, 120 days, we're just going to be building and building and building and building more and more utility and more ways for people to spend their treats.
That sounds great. I just hadn't really got the full scope of the treat as an underlying kind of almost in-house currency, and this is kind of brings me back to really kind of being able to take control of the emergent ecosystems that that DeFi summer, and being able to kind of hold on to your asset and have that deliver results upon people and reward people for holding it, which is essentially a mechanism which is dead now to us in the UK, specifically with banks and yielding interest. But coming to the artistic side and building a community and having all these elements that enable people to take action is super great. So hats off to you guys for putting all this together. And bringing such an awesome project to life, and I feel like it's only going to continue to grow. It's hard to believe, really, isn't it, that you guys only really minted on December the 5th, and now we're here, and there seems to be so much ahead of you guys, and so much that you've done already. I can't really kind of build in the amount of headspace and sleepless nights and effort and energy and and all of the excitement that's gone into delivering this in its kind of form that it lives in today. So I'm so excited to see what you guys are going to be getting up to. I'm going to be definitely keeping one ear to the ground. I think that's been a totally full conversation of NFTs and the crypto space, and kind of working with Solana as a supporting ecosystem for the Ethereum space, which of course does have its challenges. Of course, it does have plenty of excitement. I want to say so many thanks to all of you in this chat here. It's been maybe an extra extended special, but I felt that I wanted to do justice to the amazing team that is Doggos, and do give them a follow as well on Twitter when you can, because I feel like it's going to be one to watch. So special thanks to everyone in this chat here today, and I can definitely even see some Doggos as well down the bottom. But I think like today, given that it's a Sunday, it's great to do these things, and love to have you on again on Web3 Weekly. So thank you so many thanks to everyone in this conversation. Let's keep it moving. Let's keep that conversation alive. We're going to say goodbyes to the team here. Do you want to say final goodbyes whilst we take a 30-second cool off so people can take a snapshot and follow everyone in the room? Do you have final goodbyes?
Of course. Yes, just echoing Paul. This was another amazing space by you. I love hearing you talk, love your ideas, and love seeing all these people pop in here, and just thank you for making the space for us.
You're very, very, very welcome. Go on, Weedle.
Yeah, thank you very much, Paul. Let's definitely do the collab so you can teach me how to work all these newfangled domains.
We'll definitely do that. That is something that I'm really, hoping to knuckle down and explore, and it's changing all the time as well, so it's hard to keep up. So this is why it's so useful for us to stay in contact and have weekly conversations like this. Melly, are you up? Do you want to say some final goodbyes? It'd be great to hear from you on a goodbye.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. I'm really looking forward to the next one. It was a great night, another great night.
Fantastic. It's on my part, my name's Paul Point. This is Web3 Weekly. Would love to hear some of your feedback. If you want to send me a DM, any questions, pointers, advice, anything that you want to join in conversation with, my DMs are open. I'm here to support you into your journey of NFTs, cryptocurrency, Web3, community building, or maybe even just a kind of informal chat, based on what's happening out in the world. You can definitely reach out to me. My DMs are open. Please follow Weedle, Heather, and Melly on their chats as well. Connect with as many people as you can. Spread love, light, and positivity. Let's see where this conversation goes. It's only so early into the year at January 16th. My name is Paul Point, and you are Web3. Thank you so much.